This video is made for adult collectors cause LeBron James. So I know a lot of mainline collectors, like most of my friends are mainline collectors, who don't want to get into masterpiece collecting because of size and price. And yeah, it can get very expensive. I still think MP44 is way too much. There are, however, cheaper ways to get an MP Prime, but which way is necessarily better? So here I've got two examples of affordable, in air quotes, masterpiece Optimus Primes. MP10, the LeBron James version, and Magic Square's Light of Peace, which was provided to me by TF Safari. So thanks to them for sponsoring today's video and providing this guide to me for free. But with that being said, all views and opinions are my own. They have a huge variety of third-party toys and really good shipping prices. Like this was, I think, $5 or something to ship. I don't know how they did that. They have this guy, which will be linked below, and a plethora of others. God, I really want this. One day, man. One day. Like, I've legit wanted this for so damn long. Anyways, go grab this and other things from TF Safari, linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Now on to the actual toy. Also, I do have a Patreon if you want to support the channel even further. It'll be linked in the description down below, and you do not have to do this if you do not want to. And yes, before anyone says it, I have seen Jobby's video on this. The amount of times I get comments like that where, Jobby the Hung liked it, or Emgo like blah, blah, blah. I know. Opinions are different. Quality control is different. I know he really likes it, and that's great for him, but like third party has very inconsistent quality control standards, so I will have issues with this that he didn't, and I'm going to talk about them. Basically what I'm saying is third party isn't always perfect. Also, Jobby the Hung's video was pretty good on this thing, and I highly recommend you watch it. So these are two drastically different toys, ignoring the weird ass LeBron. Actually, you know what? No, let's start talking about that first. So yeah, this is a LeBron James decoed Optimus Prime. Yeah, the basketball player. I don't know why this exists either, but hey, MP10 is one of the most redecoed molds and Transformers out there that isn't a Seeker mold, and LeBron got one. I actually wonder if he knows this exists, and then my other question is, I wonder if he has it. I wanted this because of how goofy it was, because like, when can you say you have a LeBron James Optimus Prime? This goes right next to my signed Raptors ball we have. It's hilarious. But with this wacky ass deco out of the way, molds, Magic Square looks a lot more accurate. This thing is almost a spitting image of what we see in the cartoon. I still think MP44 looks more close to the cartoon than this, but yeah, I'm not paying that. Honestly, I might just get this off TF. This will also be linked below from TF Safari. Don't sell it out though, I want one. But I do much prefer the look of the Magic Square one. It's painted super well, and the sculpting, what little there is pretty good, but yeah, what little there is. Because MP10 is a lot more sculpted detail on it, and it looks more intricate, while Magic Squares is going for that super cartoony look. MP10 feels like a classics toy, basically. But I think what it really comes down to is the build, and this is a bit of a thing for both of these. These both feel solid. Like, the Magic Square one's plastic feels strange, but it's not horrendous till you get to the smokestacks. This one broke right out of the box, and that's a common problem apparently. They did add diecast to the feet on this particular version. This is the metallic colored one, but they didn't change the smokestacks, and it seems like that's a massive oversight on their part. They should have made them diecast so they don't break, or change the packaging so that it doesn't jostle around enough to break them. But it's nowhere near the build issues of MP10, because this is one of the million redecos. There's going to be some degradation, and sure enough, the entire right hip snapped off inside. So when I got this out of the box, it had a really loose leg. So I opened it up to get some floor polish in the joint, and the tube that the screw goes into just fell completely out. Pain. On top of that, the shoulders are super loose, and there's some transformation hinges internally that haven't stood up well to the test of time. There's also paint chipping, because I don't know. It's a shame, because this deco is so cool, but it's a bit broken. Magic Squares one has problems too, but like not nearly as bad. Like the broken smokestack, which I could just glue back together. Scratched as shit chrome, that it's literal gouges, and some paint overspray, which I can get all replaced by Magic Square themselves, which is nice. Whereas, because this is a rare deco of an MP10, getting replacements is impossible because Takara does not make this toy anymore, like at all. One thing I've noticed though is when buying an MP10, getting one of the more random ones, like a redeco that makes no sense, I found is a lot cheaper than getting the Optimus decoed one or like Evangelion one. Like LeBron Prime goes for about 110-ish on like buy on average, but then you have those issues to watch out for. Magic Squares is 135, but like it's not got any crucial broken parts. It's holding up a lot better for that extra 25 bucks. I think it's definitely achieving that extra 25 bucks. Magic Squares also does fit very well into a pre-existing Masterpiece collection. Like some third-party Masterpiece toys don't exactly fit with official MP stuff, but this one really does just sink into that, and it feels like it belongs in a pre-existing collection. Both of them have matrices and matrix chambers that can open. Love the detail on the inside of the Magic Square one. However, my MP10, I have to put the matrix in backwards because it doesn't like to sit flush when it's the other way around. Each one has an axe and a gun. The axe on MP10 is softer material, but it slides over the hand. Very soft though, it has started to melt a little bit, so I have to keep it in a cold environment. The Magic Square one is hard, clear plastic and closes over the hand, which isn't as nice as sliding it over the fist, but it accomplishes the same thing. I do worry about those tiny clear tabs. That is a little bit of a concern for me. The guns. Magic Squares kind of looks just better because it's longer. It doesn't have to fold, which is a bit of an issue in truck mode, but in the robot mode, it just makes the gun feel like it's the proper size. MP10 just is a little too small, but it has more detail, which is nice. They're both neat, but robot modes, I would definitely pick the Magic Square one. After shipping and taxes, it works out to a very similar price between the two, and Magic Squares just looks nicer, especially when it comes to its articulation. Magic Squares Prime also comes with a jetpack, which is a pain in the ass to take off, an alternate head, which I honestly might swap to because it looks more like MP10 and I actually like that. So these two look, why is your chest popping out? They look very, very different. And they also pose very, very different. He is looking down, and he's always looking down because the head is loose. Like it's there, there it goes again. We'll start with MP10 first because he is an older toy, and older toy means older articulation. It's like if you were to put this next, actually that's a bad example, that has more articulation in Studio Series. If you put this next to a modern toy, it's gonna have less articulation. Same with this guy. So the head, up and down, left and right. That's pretty much it. Shoulders can rotate, they can go in and out. You can extend them to go even further. However, they're very weird shoulders. You move them forward, and they don't go anywhere, except on the transformation hinge, which moves back that way, which looks weird, to me anyways. And if you have them at an angle, they move strange because the shoulder joint is going up this way. It's a very odd design of the shoulders. You got bicep rotation, single jointed elbow, wrist rotation, fingers. He's got the 3-finger trigger finger split. He does have a waist joint, which is nice. Hips. Got a really nice ratchet, and then no ratchet in and out, and that's what's broken on this one. So I'm kind of careful when moving that. You got a below the knee swivel and a thigh swivel, which is blocked by the sculpt. Love that. 90 degrees of bend at the knee. And it bends that way if you want. And then the ankles can move down a bit, up. He's got a tight, slight toe joint, and then ankle pivot, and you can slide the ankles out to get even more of a pivot, which is nice, but he's not the most posable. Like, he's got good articulation. It's just awkward. Ooh, scary hip. It's just awkward to move around. In contrast, this idiot, like, he has so much that's very good, but on an Optimus Prime, don't know how dynamic you're gonna get with it, but at least it's there. Head is on a ball joint, and you have to hear this. That's just how tight the ball joint in the neck is. I don't like that. He can look up that far. Oh, he can look down that far. Shoulders can do a full 360. They can go out at the base of the shoulder itself, and they can go out at the base of the torso. You also have an extension, so you can get a butterfly joint forward and back. That's actually quite nice. You got a really tight bicep swivel, and then like a middle of the elbow hot spot style swivel. You got double jointed elbows. You have individual articulated fingers that thankfully are not pinned. Transform and roll out. Please don't pin your fingers. I still have them all. I still have all the fingers. Now the torso. This is a lot of cool stuff. You got a rotating waist. Love it. An ab crunch. Love that. But like, because of how it transforms, you can go all the way like that. Sure. You're never going to use that much ab crunch, but it's there if you want it. Hip skirts are a bit strange, so I'm going to give them into the Jesus pose here. You got front and side, but then, or sorry, back and side, but then the front sinks into the hip like MP44, but unlike MP44, they don't come back. So you move the hip forward on that really satisfying ratchet joint. It goes forward that far, but then the hip skirt doesn't really, you have to like push it back manually, which I find a bit annoying. It does go back that far. And then the hip skirt moves again. I don't like the way that that's designed. It's just a tad frustrating. They can go out. It's on an extremely soft, buttery ratchet, which isn't the strongest, but like at least it holds until you give it a shake. He does have a thigh rotation, which is sculpted, but doesn't actually get in the way, which is nice. You have a really nice knee bend. That's a very nice ratchet. And then a second knee bend. That feels like absolute crap. That one is terrible. And that one's really nice. And then the feet, they can go down at the heel, and the heel is stuck. The heel, you know, ratchet it forward and back. It can be out of focus. Come on. You got ankle pivot and like that much ankle pivot. And then shift, you got a toe bend. And this version of Light of Peace actually has die cast in the toes so that he has a more stable base over the other two. Like the other two didn't have falling over issues, but like this just helps. It helps quite a bit. So yeah, MP10 is not a bad robot by any means, but it's a bit limited by the technology of its time. And the Magic Square one really feels like it belongs now, and it just works a lot nicer in a robot mode. Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to recording this. So I'm not going to show you the full transformation. There's going to be a lot of cuts in here. I'm basically just going to point out the parts that I don't like and that you should probably watch out for when you transform this, because it's mainly the legs. They kind of suck. There's a lot of opening panels that I'm not the biggest fan of because of how thin this material is that Magic Square uses, because Magic Square is not going to use the most high quality of materials possible because they're a third-party company. They don't have the ability to spend that much money. This is difficult. So we're just going to fold these feet out of the way for now. You have to get your finger into here and pull these panels out. These are really thin. Like, they're very thin pieces of plastic, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs on them, and they're very small tabs, and they don't feel the strongest. So also his knees look like they're yellowing. They feel like they're gonna break, especially on this side. I don't like doing that. And that was really stiff out of the box, and I almost did flex them off, trying to get them off. These ones are a lot easier. There we go. I say as that one fights me. You bring this up, you fold these around, like so, and then these peg into here. Now, I have pegged them in. They are incredibly difficult to get unpegged. Oh, there we go. Incredibly difficult to get unpegged. They've loosened up a little bit, but out of the box, again, it was an absolute nightmare. The way you get the wheels to where they need to go, not so cool. You gotta rotate this, and you gotta flex things past other things. And I don't know if you can see that, there's a massive, massive stress mark on that tube right there. Not a fan. 2 sets of hook tabs, you gotta like feed it through. There we go. And it can be a pain sometimes to line them up. That actually wasn't that bad. It's usually a lot worse. Okay, now that we have the legs pretty much done, pegging them together. This is annoying. So what I have to do is pull the heels down and ratchet the feet down to get a grip to like squeeze this together. I had to shave those because when I first got this, I had to use pliers to push it together because it would not go together. Now it does, thankfully, because I've fixed it. But
Like I said with the Commander Stars thing, you shouldn't have to fix these things right out of the box if you're paying this much for them. But then again, I've also heard that the regular deco release of this guy, which will also be linked below, doesn't have that issue, so, you know.
The trucks look awesome. I'm not a big fan of how smooth the Magic Square one is at the back, because like a real truck, it's not this smooth, but MP10 is also like really thick, so give or take. There's also a detachable trailer hitch, which I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that it detaches. I really do like how the stripes disappear on the Magic Square one. Both trucks are fine though. Like, I'd say they are very comparable. MP10 does have the feet sticking out, while Magic Squares really doesn't, but the Magic Square ones don't lock in at all, so that's a bit annoying. The wheels on the Magic Square one too don't really roll super well because of the way the panels are lined up underneath, but they do have rubber tires, so that's good. There isn't much else to say about the Prime trucks, really. It's just a flat-nosed truck. Both of them are super serviceable. In the LeBron deco, though, it looks absolutely stunning in my opinion. I actually like the way that this looks. But if I had to pick one over the other, I would lean more towards the Magic Square one simply because of how it looks, and I don't really transform my Masterpiece that much, so he's going to stand on the shelf with the other MPs and look amazing. MP10 is still great, but the Magic Square one for me just looks better and poses a lot nicer. Functionally though, MP10 is a lot more fun to transform. However, I'm scared of mine because of the busted hip. Thank you very much again to TF Safari for providing me with this figure. Links in the description down below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.